and overdue bills to keep me company. Seems nobody wants to hire a real private dick anymore, a professional like me. A guy who does the detective work nobody else wants to do. A guy who wears hats and walks around in a black and white world. I began contemplating a more profitable line of work, like politics.
We are the show you want to know. It's time to talk to you.
All right, folks, welcome to the Thursday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show here on AM 830 WCRN. And of course, you can join the conversation for the next hour at 508-871-7000. That's 508-871-7000. Our text line is up and running at 617-297-8388. 617-297-8388. Text like you would anybody else. It appears on the screen here in real time. We try to work it into the conversation. Don't forget the station does stream 24/7 like thousands of other radio stations do on the TuneIn app. If you don't have that, it's seconds to download it. Punch in WCRN. You'll see our cool logo. Do me a favor, hit the like button, and then we know you're there, and then we're very easy to find after the fact. And I love that feature because you can take it in and out of the car, take us anywhere as well. Now, I do stream the show on multiple platforms, the station Facebook and YouTube page, as well as my social media platforms. That includes, of course, X, Facebook, LinkedIn profile, and we do stream live to Rumble. And the Joe Mangiacotti Show is turned into a podcast where you can subscribe to that wherever you subscribe to your podcasts, such as Spotify, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, Google Play, etc. All right, we got a lot to talk about today. Back behind the glass flying the board today. He'll get you set up and into the studio for two-way talk and conversation. Don't forget we are streaming, and we're going to be joined by Paul Craney from Mass Fiscal Alliance in a few seconds. And we talked about this a little bit, this backup with the lawyers in cases, criminal cases, backing up here in Massachusetts, and what's happening, because if they don't get a trial because the lawyers are refusing to work, CPCS, we're gonna get into all of that. Mass Fiscal Alliance advocates for fiscal responsibility, transparency, accountability, all in state government, and increased economic opportunity for, of course, us, the people of the Commonwealth. It is a 501c4 nonprofit organization. And joining us from Mass Fiscal Alliance, Paul Craney. Hey, Paul, welcome to the virtual studio, and thank you for hopping in today.
Oh, thanks for having me on, Joe.
So I wanted to, did I do the Mass Fiscal justice? Tell everybody what Mass Fiscal's mission statement is and why that even exists.
Oh, you did a great job. We started in 2012. We're a 501c4, which basically means we're a nonprofit organization. We're not a political party. We don't work for the government. We're nonprofit. And to boil it pretty simple, we advocate for the taxpayers and their interests. And a lot of times that means for lower taxes, less spending, more transparency at the State House. And what makes us unique as a C4 is that we try to engage voters, constituents to hold their legislators, their governor, and officials accountable. So we don't go to the State House. I mean, we do sometimes, but we're not like a group that goes to the State House and lobbies lawmakers. Instead, we're trying to get the activists, the constituents, the voters to know what's going on, and then have you be the one that contact your legislator or the governor or officials that are making decisions on behalf of us, the taxpayers. So that's kind of what we do. We try to hold them accountable by getting the information to you, your audience, your listeners, and
so
then
educate everybody as to what is happening up there, because most people, maybe guys like myself, we kind of do this for a living, so we're paying more attention. But the typical person, Paul, doesn't know about legislation or what's going on until somebody does a story about the abuse leader. And they don't have time to make that call or communicate with their legislator and said, hey, I don't think this is a good bill. I don't think this is a good amendment, or what the case may be. How long have you been with Fiscal Alliance?
I was the first hire in 2012.
The first executive director, correct?
Yeah. And then I went on the board and I came back as executive director earlier this year.
Great.
So, but I've been leading the organization, ever since day one, basically. We've become the state's kind of most influential advocacy organization for people that are considered on the right. And that's pretty broad in Massachusetts. I mean, if you care about how people spend your tax dollars, guess what? Now you're on the right. If
You would
think
think
there's
people being concerned how your tax dollars are spent would be a left and right issue.
yeah, no, I know. That's why I was joking. It's
Yeah.
pretty broad
Yeah,
when you
that's
define it
just
that
like
way. But there are
that's
people in the
crazy.
legislature who absolutely do not care. They think money is free. Anything should be funded and everything should be funded to the utmost it can. I mean, it's really just this complete delusional world they live in because if they really, I mean, Joe, honestly, in the state house, it is so rare for these lawmakers to have to make a decision where they prioritize spending.
Wow.
Like for them, there is no decisions. It's just everyone gets whatever they want. So when they have to be pushed so hard that they're like, well, we can't pay for B
Right?
because we have to pay
Is
for
because
A.
there's no consequences if they spend taxpayer money without any consideration of the taxpayer because they get reelected, right? So there's no consequence at the ballot box.
Yeah, a lot of them always get reelected, but I think the other part of that is just the Massachusetts taxpayer is so stinking generous. We're some of the most generous taxpayers in the entire nation for how much we spend out of our paychecks for state taxes. I think we're like the third or fourth, maybe the second most generous, per capita in the nation. So, just for a legislator, that just means like they get so much extra money than the average lawmaker in other state capitals because you and I and your audience, we're so generous. We're just always giving away so much of our, paycheck money to these people.
And the other part of it, though, that comes up is the fact that we tend to spend more than other states do for the same thing. And what I'm talking about, we look at how much per mile, say, New Hampshire pays to maintain its roadways versus how much a mile Massachusetts pays. And maybe that leads us into part of the conversation I asked you to join me today on. We've got
Joe, you cut out there.
a little glitch there, but you're okay now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry about that, folks. Let me just make sure the path to the microphones are all okay. That's good. Sorry about that, folks. But my point is, I asked you to come here because we're watching this work slowdown among attorneys being paid by CPCS, the Community Council, and some of that discussion has to do with, well, lawyers in New Hampshire, Maine, and so forth are making more money for the same thing. But let's back up and recap or explain to people what we're talking about in the CPCS committee. Again, this is where when you hear that the Miranda rights, right? If you can't afford a lawyer, one should be provided for you. Well, okay, that's great. Where the hell does that money come from? Of course, the taxpayers. Well, we need some kind of vehicle to govern that and to pay these lawyers and other things, by the way. Because if you're deemed indigent and you can't pay, or you don't have the assets to pay for that lawyer, yes, your taxpayers, again, back to the generous taxpayers, will pay for that lawyer, but they also will pay for private investigators and blood experts and fingerprint experts. I've been a CPCS vendor for many, many years, owning a private detective agency. We, of course, do public defense work. But now the lawyers are saying, we haven't really had a raise and we're not paying a lot. Can you get more into the detail of that, Paul, for our listeners?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, this is on the backdrop of the legislature passing their annual budget, which came in at $61 billion, nearly doubled, I think, in 10 years. And the budget was rushed through within a matter of days. $61 billion.
When I started in talk radio, I think we had a $11 billion budget.
Yeah.
And I remember when it went to 17 billion, that was crazy. But I've been in it for a long time. But think about that. And now we're at 61 billion.
61 billion, the largest in state history. I think it's 6 to 8% higher than last year. I mean, this is a budget like way ahead of where we were before the pandemic. So that passes within days. And then shortly thereafter, I mean, a matter of days, maybe a week or so, all of a sudden, as you mentioned, that agency that's in charge of representing people who can't afford lawyers, basically like public defenders, says, hey, we want a little bit more money. They want, basically the estimate is $100 million. And obviously $100 million is a lot of money. But what's $100 million compared to a $61 billion budget? Well, I did the math. It's 1/10 of 1%. So the legislature is really, the spat is over 1/10 of 1% of what they just passed in a matter of days, where they showed zero resistance to fiscal responsibility. They showed absolutely no hesitation for spending money on any program that was put before them. And now
I would think that they would want to help people who are deemed indigent. I mean, that should be the poorest of the poor. But what does that convert to in dollar amount for the actual attorney's pay? And remember, these are attorneys who went to law school, passed the bar, probably have 100,000 or more in student debt. Lawyers who charge $300, $500, $1,500 in private practice. What does that convert to for pay per hour for a defense attorney in the Commonwealth?
I think what they're getting paid is roughly $60 now, and they want to get up to $90.
Which doesn't seem unreasonable.
No, it doesn't. And, again, I always look at how does it apply to the state? How does it apply to just ordinary people who are not lawyers, who are not impacted by this? And there's two ways. One is the justice system is basically now broken right now. It's broken. So if you're just a man on the street, a woman on the street, and you don't think this impacts you, well, the legislature, because they refuse to take action and they refuse to deal with this, most of them are probably just checked out on vacation right now. They basically broke the judicial system in some counties in Massachusetts. People are getting arrested for charges. Some of them are pretty violent. And they're being set free now. And it's not because a judge ruled that they're innocent, but it's because the legislature and the governor refused to confront this spat. And now these alleged dangerous people who have criminal records are being let go because the state failed to give them legal representation, not because a judge and jury found them innocent, not because they had their day in court.
Paul, can I ask you to hold? Can you hold to the break? We have a hard break, mandatory 2 minute. So, folks, we're going to take a quick break here, normal first break here on the Thursday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN. Paul Craney, who is the Executive Director of Fiscal Alliance, has joined me in the virtual studio. Don't forget, you can tune in and watch me on LinkedIn or Facebook. But we're back in 2 in 10, folks.
Polar Park is the place to play, so treat yourself to a private suite at the best ballpark in AAA. Suite rentals are the best way to enjoy a fully catered and climate-controlled experience at the park. Whether you choose to watch the game from inside of the suite or out in your seats, it's the ultimate experience for a special occasion. Visit WooSox.com or call 508-500-8888 to reserve your suite today.
What if your body already knows how to heal? It just needs the right support to do it. Bioregulatory medicine is a total body and mind approach to health that works with your body, not against it. It's a safe, gentle, drug-free, and proven medical model that supports your natural ability to regulate, adapt, regenerate, and heal without side effects. Whether you're seeking to restore health or prevent illness, bioregulatory medicine offers a smarter path forward. Take control of your health with knowledge. Visit brmi.online, home of the Bioregulatory Medicine Institute, a nonprofit global leader offering a powerful free library of trusted resources, articles, podcasts, videos, and more, all at your fingertips. Visit brmi.online. That's brmi.online.
When life takes an unexpected turn due to illness or injury, you deserve a partner dedicated to your recovery journey. At Fairlawn Rehabilitation Hospital in Worcester, we specialize in personalized inpatient rehabilitation for patients suffering from stroke, brain injuries, hip fractures, and much more. Our team of experts provide regular physician visits, 24/7 specialized nursing care, and Gold Seal Joint Commission certified rehabilitation plans for all of our patients. We're committed to helping you regain independence and return to what matters most. Fairlawn Rehabilitation Hospital, your trusted choice for comprehensive rehabilitative care. Learn more by calling 508-791-6351 today.
All right, folks, welcome back here to the second segment of the Thursday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN, reminding folks you can join the conversation for the remainder of the hour at 508-871-7000. That's 508-871-7000. Our text line is up and running at 617-297-8388, 617-297-8388. Joining me in the studio, virtual studio, that is Paul Craney, who's Executive Director of Mask Fiscal Alliance. And just before the break, Paul, we were talking about the CPCS, the Council Committee, and the fact that they're the ones who administer the pay to attorneys and others who are indigent and cannot afford one, and we will provide one per the, of course, Miranda rights. And the fact that it's 0.1% of the budget, and the lawyers haven't received a pay increase in a long time. And I know the PIs, we got one a couple of years ago, again, after something like a 20-year, it just stayed at that rate for over 20 years, and it finally went up. Again, not much. But this is such an important part of the judicial system, and there's a great number of people who need this. And because of the lawyers saying, we've got to get a little bit more here just to keep up with inflation and to keep the doors open. This means that people being arrested who qualify for a CPCS attorney aren't being represented. And if you are arrested and don't get representation within a very short period of time, they do have to let you go. And if you're incarcerated already in jail and you go a certain amount of time, again, they got to let you out, because we have a right to a speedy trial as guaranteed to us. Are there any estimates as to how many people, the backlog this is creating and how many people are being released?
I heard on Tuesday about 100 people were released. And I think that was for Suffolk and Middlesex County, if I remember right.
Okay.
But I mean,
and the severity of the crime doesn't calculate into this, correct? Because it has nothing to do with the crime. It has to do with the fact that you don't have legal representation.
yeah, I mean, I know that they have the system has some lawyers working. So my guess is they're trying to tackle the ones, tackle maybe the ones that are the most egregious. But I did hear on Tuesday there were some people released with some pretty serious charges where there's clearly victims involved. And that's the other side of this, is just you have tragedies happening. You have victims who, had to speak up and take action and endure. And can you imagine the message that's being sent to them? It's not just that they were let go. They were let go because the state failed to do its basic function. And that is squarely on the legislature and the governor. If let me tell you, Joe, we put out a press release yesterday saying the governor should stop payments to lawmakers until they deal with this. If that happened, they would be in the State House today.
Yeah.
What it is my personal feeling is there is such a movement at the State House to cater to incarcerated individuals. And it's not just this. There's other things they've done where they're bending over backwards. A few years ago, they gave incarcerated individuals free telephone calls, and now that's getting abused. There's a movement in the State House right now by some in there that's gaining traction so that people who are incarcerated have the right to vote. And now you're seeing where inaction is resulting that these people are being let free. So there's victims, there's a budget that was just passed, and then news yesterday was Governor Healey has another pay raise going to some of her staff, a $10 million pay raise getting awarded. So we're doing pay raises to some of Governor Healey's staff. We have a budget that's passing that's $61 billion. And it seems like this is just getting kind of put to the side. And, you got to ask yourself, is it on purpose? And I'm starting to think it surely
I love
is.
the idea that that legislators aren't paid if they don't fix this, but the concept I think should be greater. If the legislators can't do their job, then their pay is suspended till, I think it was Warren Buffett who came out and said, hey, you want to fix the federal budget and the fact that a budget hasn't really been submitted, right? We do these continuing resolutions, tie Congress's pay to if it exceeds a certain percentage of the GDP, they don't get paid. If they don't spend it, they don't get paid. Watch how fast our budget, our fiscal responsibility gets in line. So yeah, there's something to it. I don't think it would ever happen, but it's a great call. Did you get any feedback back from Maura Healey's office or the Capitol on hey, maybe legislation shouldn't be paid till they actually fix this?
Well, we saw the governor put out some statements yesterday saying, "Oh, I hope there's a resolution pretty soon," but that's just lip service. I think she might be even on vacation right now. I have no idea. No one really knows where the governor is.
This is a woman that leaves the state quite a bit, right? I mean, and unlike the president, vice president, guys, when the governor leaves, the lieutenant governor becomes acting governor. And when the physical governor leaves the physical boundaries of the state, that office ceases. It shifts, the power shift to the lieutenant governor.
Yeah.
So how often has our lieutenant governor actually been in charge? Quite a bit.
Well, last week I think she was in charge all week, and no one knew when. No one knew last week when the acting governor, who's the lieutenant governor, was going to know when the elected governor, who was Maura Healey, was going to come back and assume her position as governor. I mean, no one knew when that date was, and she ended up coming back. But the other thing, Joe, is like she goes on vacation all the time where they have no public schedule, no public events on her schedule, and she could just be chilling out in the Berkshires or, down the Cape somewhere where she's in the state, but she's not working. And we have no idea because she doesn't put anything on her calendar.
No. Yeah.
So
that's something. Any word from anybody, you guys have legislators, state legislators who communicate with you, talk to you, anybody saying, Paul, this is going to actually get together. I mean, we're in the middle of the summer. Are these where are the legislators? Are they even at Beacon Hill?
No, not a lot of them. I think a lot of them are checked out right now, and that's what we're kind of getting. That's what we're kind of hearing is just again, for the power, the majority party is the Democrat Party in the legislature,
big time,
and they've been very sympathetic to incarcerated individuals. So for them to have an automatic backdoor is not the worst thing in the world for what they're thinking. And, if you just saw this as an isolated incident, you'd be like, well, maybe that's far-fetched. But remember, we just gave them free phone calls, which is now we know is getting completely abused.
I'm not aware of that. What do we mean? I mean, they get their phone call. What do you mean free phone calls? Can't they pretty much go up to the phone anytime and collect?
No, now the taxpayers are paying for all the phone calls in jails.
Well, I'd like to be the vendor that got that deal.
I know.
Right? Was that a no-bid contract to get in the jails for that?
I don't know if it was no bid, but the bills are coming in. They're quite high.
Of course they are.
That was a debate during the budget, was just, hey, maybe we should put some safeguards on this, so that it's not an unlimited benefit. And that was quickly pushed aside.
I've looked for 30 years. I've accepted phone calls from, MCI. Sometimes the client, has to call my office or call me, and it's normally it's a recorded line. They pick it up. You get a recording line. They got to say their name, and it's tied to their inmate number. And you're paying through some global. I forget the name of the company. And I mean, it's like $1.20 a minute. I mean, I forget what the rate is, but I've been on the receiving end of institution MCI facilities for years, and that's just the way it worked. And so you're saying now they can just walk up to the phone, dial, and that bill is just being sent to the state every month. They pay the bill that could be tens of thousands of dollars.
Yeah, it's in the millions now, and I think it's the sheriffs who are paying for it. So it's coming out of the sheriff's budget, I think.
Did the state mandate it to the county, to the sheriff, without giving them the resources? Because that's pretty.
I'm pretty certain, but don't quote me. I'm pretty certain that's how it's working. So the sheriffs are also complaining because it's a huge drain, and it's unlimited, right? It's a benefit that has no cap, so of course it's going to be abused. And then there's lawmakers in the state house right now who want to amend the state constitution to allow people who are currently incarcerated the ability to vote. Now, currently, if you're incarcerated and you don't have a felony, you can vote. But if you have a felony, you can't vote. And that's what they're trying to change. So if you have a felony and you're incarcerated, you can vote. I mean, just think about that. You have people in prisons who could be voting for the sheriff. I mean, that's just crazy to think about. But it's a
Who are
pattern
some of the
of.
legislators that want to see that change? Do you have any names on? But I know we weren't going to talk about that. We didn't talk about it. Do you happen to know, or can we go to the website? How can we find out what brilliant legislators are behind that?
There's a few of them. Some of the usual suspects. I'm fairly certain State Rep Erica Ultrahoven from Somerville. I'm fairly certain Mike Conley from Cambridge. There's a handful of others. I wouldn't be surprised if Jamie Eldridge, a state senator, is on that list. But they're trying to amend the state constitution.
That's
and
crazy.
It comes up every few months where, they're talking about this issue again, and they're going to the sympathetic media, making it into like, oh, look what Massachusetts does. We're taking away people's votes. And it's like, well, if you're convicted for a felony,
the spin is crazy on this stuff.
Yeah,
Paul, we're running up against the clock. Can you tell people if they want to follow? I'm assuming, right? They can follow you on social media, Facebook, X account, or something. Check out Mass Fiscal. Why don't you roll that info for anybody that'd like to check out? And because you do post these press releases, you do statements basically to social media about what you guys are monitoring, correct?
Yeah, we're very big on social media. A lot of videos. Check out our Twitter X page, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. Check it out at Mass Fiscal, MASS Fiscal. You can check it out on any social media platform, and we're there. We're putting out a lot of content, a lot of short videos that you can share. We're doing a lot of videos so people can understand what's happening. They can see it, not just read it, but they can actually see it, and you can share it and post it yourself. You want to get the word out, and social media is a great platform to get what's going on in the State House out so that you can hold these people accountable. That's what we're trying to do.
Yeah. And you guys offer a great service. It's a great tool to have out for us, the citizens, to check it. And I know a lot of people in my industry watch your press releases and look at it because there's no way we can monitor the way you guys can. So thank you for all that.
Definitely.
And thanks for taking the time out here to Paul today. Thank you.
Oh, no problem. Happy to be on.
All right, man. All right. So folks, we're coming up against the break in a few minutes here, reminding you can join the conversation at 508-871-7000. That's 508-871-7000 for the remainder of this hour. And our text line is running at 617-297-8388, 617-297-8388. And don't forget that I am streaming on my social media platforms at Joe Mangiacotti Show, Mangi, X, Facebook, LinkedIn profile, and of course to Rumble. So we'll take a quick break here. We'll come back on the other side with the second half of the Thursday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show. So we'll be back in 2 in 10, folks.
772-1776. Retirement is within reach.
I'm meteorologist Sherry Spearn. Here's the latest Boston 25 weather on Radio 830 WCRN. It's going to be warm today, a little humid as well. In fact, we're on a heat advisory later today because temperatures will come close to 90 degrees. But the really concerning weather ends up being tomorrow because Friday is going to be even hotter, even more humid. So highs tomorrow will make it to the low in the mid 90s, but it's going to feel like it's over 100 degrees. So please be safe out there for your Friday plans. We've got some afternoon thunderstorms that you'll want to watch for tomorrow. I'm meteorologist Sherry Spearn. You can hear Boston 25 live for the morning drive weekdays on AM 830 WCRN.
More live and local radio is next. Stay tuned to Radio Central, 830 WCRN.
Hi, folks. This is Mike Stacey, head professional at Norton Country Club, welcoming you to the start of the 2025 golf season. Norton Country Club is a championship 18-hole golf course located just minutes off of 495. The course came through the winter grade and we're open for daily fee, as well as having membership opportunities and outings available. Our clubhouse is a great venue for your wedding or group gathering needs. If you're interested, call 508-285-2400, extension 1 for events, or 103 for golf, as well as nortoncountryclub.com. Hope to see you out there.
WCRN Radio is thrilled to bring back a legendary voice, and now you can help tell the stories. Paul Harvey captivated millions with his unique style and unmistakable voice. By sponsoring the rest of the story, your brand can become a part of this rich tradition, and it links your business with a program that people love and trust. So don't miss this unique opportunity to grow your business while becoming part of something truly special. For sponsorship details, just go to WCRNradio.com.
All right, folks, welcome back to the second half of the Thursday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN. I'm Joe Mangiacotti, and you can join the conversation at that 508-871-7000 number, 508-871-7000 for the remainder of the hour. So get into the studio for two-way talk and conversation. Perry Mason, great, yes, okay. In case you haven't heard, you probably heard I'm looking at the text, but yes, we lost Hulk Hogan this morning, folks. So in the week we've lost Hulk Hogan, Ozzy Osbourne's deaths. Bad news comes in threes, they say, in the phenomenon. But I mean, there wasn't Connie Francis recently passed away too, so I don't know if that's count. But it is a somber day, especially for wrestling fans. We've been paying tribute to and talking about Ozzy Osbourne's passing a few days ago. So we've lost these two giants, Hulk Hogan at 71, Ozzy at 76. In this old saying, right? Bad news comes in threes is trending. So we're wondering who would be next. I guess he died of possibly a heart attack this morning. So of course we'll get more and more news as the day rolls on. He was born Terry Gene Bollea on August 11th, 1953. Hogan skyrocketed in the 80s, right? WWE. So, I mean, I'm of that generation of Hulkamania and Andre the Giant and WrestleMania, just driving all that wrestling boom. And he got very patriotic persona, right? The red bandana, the blonde hair, yellow shirt or yellow shorts. The 88, right? It was 1988, the match between, why am I drawing a blank here? Andre the Giant, 33 million viewers, wrestling record, cementing him basically as an iconic figure, right? A cultural force. What's your favorite Hulk moment? Right? What was that? What would that be? I mean, it was so big in the 80s, and we were all watching that. Hogan was he was an entrepreneur, pop culture star. He had a lot of setbacks in childhood. Didn't they have? I think they had a reality show, Hogan Knows Best, or something, for a couple of years. Anyway, it happens, right? It happens. All right, 508-871-7000 to join the conversation, 508-871-7000. Obviously, we're dealing with this legacy's panic over the Russiagate implosion. I was watching Trey Gowdy earlier today, and they were showing some clips and going back years ago, and he was talking how Brennan was in front of the Congress then. They had been briefed with classified information, so they knew Brennan was lying in front of Congress 8 years ago. And because of the information that they knew he was lying about, they couldn't expose it because it was classified, and they received it in that, legendary skiff, right? So they couldn't really deal with it and talk about it. But the truth is finally breaking through, right, on this. And then the legacy media is scrambling to cover up this collapse of the Russian hoax because they played such a big role in it. And DNI Tulsi Gabbard's revelations exposing Obama's role in this. Now we know it's not like Obama can be charged with anything because we've recently had that Supreme Court ruling about immunity for what the president does while in office. Although it's within the scope, I guess you would have to argue that it broke it. But now I got to go back to the email, right? Remember it became an infamous email about the female staffer. Why am I drawing on? It'll come to me in a second, where she said, we got to do this by the book. In that email to all these players. And that meant doing it by the book and covering your rear end so that we can get away with this. But Gabbard's documents reveal Obama's intelligence chiefs, including Brennan, pushed the 17 flawed intelligence community assessment, the ICA, to smear Trump and go with this Russian collusion claim. And the media, all in on this hoax, is now trying to dodge that story. And it just further proves the bias of trying to, leave this story a good leaving alone. So Obama's not really facing it, but Brennan, Clapper, because they knew. Not only do they know that this was fabricated by Hillary Clinton's lawyers, so she had something to use in the campaign. And when it came back that this has no merit, it doesn't even meet the most basic points of intelligence, it was Obama who said, redo it and have it come back. So Gabbard's documents expose Obama's team, and again, especially Brennan, for rigging that ICA in 2017. But a recent CIA review commissioned by John Radcliffe, found Brennan ignored objections about the Steele dossier inclusion and prioritizing a, quote, narrative of consistency over facts. So she sent those referrals to the DOJ and FBI, alleging seditious conspiracy against Trump, starting right after the 2016 win. And she put it in her presser, a year-long coup. This was an ongoing, coordinated effort to get at Trump because they really, and for those of you that were paying attention in 2016, they really thought this was a shoo-in for Hillary. Yeah, then we found out there were conversations like, the FBI agents that were having that relationship about insurance policies and so forth. But they really thought this was just an absolute give me. And of course, Barack, being told that he's this incredible figure, assumed that when he anoints and blesses his disciple, that they will automatically go forward and be made president because he deemed it so. But it didn't work out that way. And they needed to continually go after him. Boy, did they hamper Trump's first term. And they knew what they were doing in this stuff. And it wasn't just the political, what it did to the personal lives of Donald Trump and the Trump family. In the stupidity, right? Or the P tapes and the Russian hookers, and he has to go home and explain that to Melania. It was horrible what is done, and there has to be consequences to say that Obama's not going to pay any. Maybe Clapper or Brennan or both. But if there are no consequences to a coup, in essence, and this goes so beyond politics, running a campaign and doing political opposition research. Political oppo is normal, right? Matter of fact, the first thing you do if you're going to run, the first person or candidate you do your political opposition research on is actually yourself. If you're going to be the candidate, you do that yourself because you want to know when they do it to you, what are they going to find? What do you have to hit head on? What are you going to, you got to have prepared responses to what you're going to get thrown at you. And that's normal. This is far beyond. This is so far beyond this. This is criminal. And then in the presidential daily brief, that Trump would have seen, hiding very key details about the Russian action, Obama canceled the December 9th, 2016 PDB, Presidential Daily Brief, that Trump would have access to. So that brief that included information that Trump should have known, or if he had seen it as he should have seen it, Obama canceled that so that Trump wouldn't see it. That's pretty bad. And then Michael Flynn, remember him and what he went through? Well, when he spoke with Matt Taibbi, Matt told him that he would have seen that PDB, Presidential Daily Brief, and that would have keyed them off that Obama's team deliberately kept Trump in the dark. And it's common sense. This isn't just politics. It's a betrayal of the American people. Hiding intel from a president-elect, that's a cover-up. Why would Obama cancel a briefing for Trump if they weren't hiding anything? In the legacy media, NBC, the New York Times, NPR, they're in panic mode. They're downplaying or ignoring Gablett's revelations, really downplaying it in their role in pushing this Russian hoax. Even NBC headline, it's accused Gabbett of rewriting history, defending and discredited the 2017 ICA. The New York Times, NPR buried key details like the canceled presidential brief, daily brief. Jonathan Turley on Fox, he said that the media won't touch the story because it implicates them. And I think there's absolute merit to that. The media isn't reporting news, they're protecting their allies. But you have to trust your own ears, your own eyes, not elite outlets that lie left and right to us, and they've been exposed. And most of us weren't accepting and believing the whole Russian hoax. We knew it was bull back then, but you have to get this proved beyond any reasonable doubt here. I mean, do you trust NBC, CBS? Do you trust the New York Times? You know? And I think the media's silence in a lot of this proves that they were active players in Russiagate scam. And people like Molly Hemingway, right, calling it the worst scandal we've ever seen. Because those outlets were hyping the Steele dossier for years. Americans deserve media that digs for facts and aren't biased. We have to take our third and final break here on the Thursday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN. 508-871-7000. Stick with us. We'll be back in 2 and 10.
Looking for a fuel and food stop that truly stands out? Experience the Yatco difference. At Yatco, we're dedicated to bringing you the best customer service, the highest quality products, and a commitment to making your life on the go easier. Yatco has 15 convenient locations across central Massachusetts, and now our newest spot at 75 Quonsigamut Ave in Worcester. Yatco, where every stop keeps you going.
This is Jerry Doherty, host of Making Money Last, right here on WCRN. Like all business owners, I'm interested in why people choose to work with Boston Independence Group. So I asked my clients. The most common response, Jerry does not try to be all things to all people. Boston Independence Group is specialized, focused solely on retirement planning. My customers enjoy the difference. We do one thing, and we do it exceptionally well. Help other people live better in retirement. That's it. If you're ready to retire or making plans to retire, we can do for you what we've done for hundreds of other retirees throughout New England. Live better in retirement. Just give me a call. I'll show you how. My toll-free number is 877-772-1776. Again, that number is 877-772-1776. And you can visit us on the web at bostonindependencegroup.com. bostonindependencegroup.com.
I have had for some time arthritis in my knees. It has been recommended that I get knee replacement surgery. I was told about Dr. Charles Bibara next to Memorial Hospital in Worcester. I'm glad I went to Dr. Bibara. I now have no pain and I'm walking just fine. No operation, just treatment by Dr. Charles Bibara at 25 Oak Street, Worcester. 508-799-2674.
All right, folks, welcome back for the fourth and final segment here on the Thursday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. 508-871-7000. Let's go to the phones. Ken has been waiting patiently. Hey, Ken, what say you?
Hello, Joe. I think we got the big one here. Let's do the analysis here. Let's compare it to Watergate. What was the crime that was committed to start Watergate?
Well, the original crime isn't, it's so bad as the cover-up, and they broke in, right, because it was campaign opposition research.
Yeah, so it was a burglary. Was it ordered by the president?
Actually, was it ordered by the president?
It was not ordered by the president.
He knew about it after the fact.
As the news came out, in other words, the media did their job, that's good, to find out that there was this problem, he covered it up. And so ultimately he resigned over all of the media hubbub about how awful that was. You know what? Oh, gee, we just don't have the same media as 50 years ago, do we?
No, we don't.
Because now let's break down what happened here. Because I think you may have misdescribed what happened, at least by what Tulsi Gabbard told us yesterday.
What's that?
So going back to my first question, who or what was the crime?
In this case?
Well,
well, first of all, I mean, there's a lot of crimes here, Ken, from the fact that they lied to the FISA court to get the warrants to spy. The fact that the FISA court has been okay with that blows my mind, because all the dealings I've ever had in the court, and we're talking decades of dealing in the court system, you lie to the court, which means a judge, or if you lie to a judge, they call that you're lying to the court. You lie to the court does not usually take that very well. And the fact that these judges, these FISA, but then of course you got to look at, well, who the hell are the FISA judges? They're all part of that inner beltway. So who's to say how much they went on it? But the fact that they were able to lie to the FISA court about the facts and went back multiple times to renew these warrants is absolutely disgusting.
Yeah, you're describing the early crimes. There's so many to go through.
No, that's my point. Pick one.
but what was Tulsi's focus yesterday? Her focus was on
treasonous
that occurred on December 8th and December 9th. 1 or 2 days, pick your days. They'll go down in infamy when it comes to Barack Obama. That's what the historians should be writing about. But of course, we know we won't. So we take their place. That's why we have the show, right?
Mm-hmm.
To inform the people of what others won't. So here's the fact. The fact is, I think you're describing the PBDs, which is every day the intelligence operation provides the president with an update of threats to the country. And when you're in transition between an election and inauguration, it goes out, particularly if there's a new president, both to the sitting president and the elect.
Yeah. Once you become a leading contender and that there's a possibility you'll become president, they start looping you in. And if you remember, Joe Biden held back Donald Trump's in 2020 because he said, actually in 2024 too, I should say, I misspoke, in 2024, because he said that Donald Trump couldn't be trusted with getting that brief. Do you remember that? And Trump said, I don't want it because anything that happens, you're going to blame me and say I leaked it. So he said, don't give me the brief.
Yeah, it's just another the projection all the time. So here's and this is the fundamental story here, is that up until December 7th, 2016, they were both getting, in other words, you have people within the government providing a report to two different people, the same report. And suddenly that stopped on December 8th at the behest of who?
Obama.
Of the President Obama. He is at the front of these crimes. Far different than Watergate. Far worse than Watergate. Because he's the one that's doing it all. He's the one.
But my point is, Ken, he's not going to be, there's nothing going to happen to him because of presidential immunity.
No.
How no? That was a Supreme Court ruling just a short time ago. And the left was going nuts because they would say no, because it was because of the Trump situation. But that obviously carries over to all former presidents.
But this crime wasn't committed in the normal course of a presidential.
Well, that was my point here, Ken, right? Stick with me. Because they said that a president cannot be held liable for anything he does within that scope of the office. And halting a brief can be argued to be well within the scope of that office, even if it was for nefarious reasons. Issuing the brief or stopping the brief arguably are well within the powers of the office of the presidency. Now, if he steps outside of the scope of the powers of that office, absolutely there's no immunity. You can't, if he shot somebody, I don't care if he shot him in the Lincoln bedroom in the White House, that's nowhere near the scope of presidential duties. But stopping a brief arguably is, even though we know why he did it. We get it.
There are former members of the DOJ who disagree, but I actually agree with your conclusion that nothing will happen to him.
Yeah. It's going to be Brennan, Clapper, both of them that are going to end up being the scapegoat, I would think.
I have a problem with nothing happening to him, but I do demand that we see fully, not behind, we've seen some of this testimony from various parts of the Biden administration related to his health issues and everything else along there. And most of them, I think there's only one person who has not pleaded the fifth. And we've only seen behind, they release parts of it. I want to see it live when it comes to this controversy. And they're going to plead the fifth. We know that.
Well, what's his face? The chief of staff is today. And they say he didn't plead the fifth. He's taught, but didn't he leave halfway through the term?
Biden's term?
Yeah. And this whole thing about the Ambien, folks.
Yeah.
They're saying when I watched that or some of the clips with Hunter, because it was a 3-hour interview, folks, sorry. But the clips I saw when he talked about the Ambien, he was talking about on a normal basis, they would give him Ambien at night. And then all of a sudden I hear people saying they didn't give it to him before he went. I never took it from Hunter's interview that he said they gave him Ambien the day of the debate, that he had been given Ambien because he was doing all that traveling. Now, I've taken Ambien and it's out of your system when you wake in the morning. But if you're in your 80s, it doesn't work the same way. But that's irrelevant. I mean, the point is that, of course, they never, released the fact that he might have been on Ambien like they do with everything else, other presidents. But the Ambien didn't cause the deer in the headlight look and everything else.
It's very simple on the discussion that you're just making. Side issue is during that time, particularly June and July of last year, we had a co-presidency. It was Jill and Hunter.
And I think Jill's aide had a lot to do with things.
Joe was going for the ride. And that's why Hunter is having this, and he's having an F-bomb fest, is because he lost the presidency.
Yeah.
That's what he ticked off. After 6 months, he's really ticked off. He lost.
Oh, Ken, you listen to the show all the time. I was saying, Joe, the whole lie about Charlottesville, why he ran. He ran because the family knew crap was going to hit the fan and come out, and that if they could get him to be president, he could do those pardons and he could control things for at least those 4 years. And that's the reason they wanted the re-election, because none of all this stuff that we're finding out, obviously, if Trump didn't win his second term this term around, do you think any of this stuff would be out? The cover-ups and the games would have been just continued.
There's
wouldn't know
news for this. Joe, there's great news for this. Do you see what the greatest in my lifetime Speaker of the House is doing?
Mike Johnson?
He keeps calling for hearings. We're going to have hearings. We're going to have hearings.
Good.
Tulsi was terrific in what she's been doing, and there are people that are stepping up to the mantle, and we deserve to hear from the people that serve us instead of themselves, because that's what they've been doing the last 10 years, serving themselves. And we don't need the media that doesn't do their job, because we don't watch them anymore.
No, we don't. I mean, this whole Colbert thing is killing me, that people are so like crazy and upset. It's like, get over it. People in the broadcast, radio and TV, I let go. And it's really always going to come down to the financial folks, because all this conspiracy and he was losing $40 to $50 million a year. It's absolutely imperative that they cancel at least him, if not the whole damn franchise, because it doesn't work. To your point, Ken, we don't get our news from mainstream media anymore. We don't tune in by the 100 million people. We have too many options for consumption, and we just don't do it. I mean, in the reigning days of the Tonight Show and so forth, we had 3 networks. You had a choice of 3 network newscasts, and whatever they said, that's, as Walter Cronkite used to say, that's the way it is, or the way it was. And we accepted that. Now we've got multi-hour podcasts to listen to. We've got all kinds of people to follow, social, citizen journalists, alternative journalists. So they just don't, it doesn't work anymore. And the politics have changed, because I saw the FCC commissioner on, and I think he kind of blew it. He didn't put that to bed, that Trump had nothing. Trump may have something to do with this, because he challenged the mainstream media from the day he came down the escalator, and the ripple effect we might be seeing now, because the advertisers aren't there, because the viewers aren't there. Ken, we're against the clock. Final word.
The average age of a Colbert audience member is in the mid-70s. That tells it all.
Yeah, there you go. All right, Ken, thank you for the call. Always appreciate it. Great. Thank you. All right, folks, we're going to come up to the end of the show, but I did want to just quickly point out that Columbia University's $200 million settlement with the Trump administration. I'm not here tomorrow. We can't do it. Maybe Peter will take it up, but tune in tomorrow for the Carr Brothers. Fridays at 1 o'clock at my normal time. The Carr Brothers Car Show. Take care of that. It's Thursdays. So that means Frankie Boyer is up right after me here, folks, but I gotta go. So Joe out. Have a fantastic day.